Hey everybody, it's Nick. Alright, here we go. Final campaign diary of the semester for my college student players, of the year for everyone. It is going to be a good one. A lot of fun happened this session. It was pretty intense, pretty interesting. I'm excited to tell you guys this story. So here we go. Let's jump right into it. When last we left our heroes, in the process of exploring a large area of islands, trying to find a good place for a colony for their home nation, the players found this castle that they wished to make a stronghold out of. However, it was occupied by a whole tribe of lizard folk. So what the players decided to do is go north and enlist the help of a tribe of orcs that were natural enemies to those lizard folk. And now they have enlisted that tribe of orcs and are moving down to attack and assault and reclaim, or claim for the first time, their keep that they feel for some reason is rightfully theirs. Now, this sums up about 5 or 6 sessions worth, so I can't recap all of the nitty-gritty details. You gotta go back and watch those videos. Sorry, no other way to do it. This video would be like an hour and a half long. Anyways, so we jump right into it, and I explain and remind the players lots of details that they would know, but may or may not remember themselves. So I let them know there's probably about 80 to 120 lizard folk living here. They know of 3 entrances, the main castle gates, and then down at sea level there are some docks that have a passage that leads up. There is as well a secret entrance midway up the cliffside to the lower level vault areas, probably like single file kind of entrance. I remind them of the topography. There's a castle with a keep in the middle of it and a lake in there. It is sitting up on a cliffside overlooking the ocean. There are pathways and stuff leading up to one side of it, but on the other side it's just sheer cliff dropping off into the ocean. They also have about 45, maybe 50 able-bodied orcs that will help them in their assault, and they have roughly 20 crew members that will be able to help out as well. These are all details that they would know very obviously, so I just tell them. I don't want to punish my players for not having kept extensive and detailed notes. If it's obvious to their characters, I make sure to make it obvious to the players. That is kind of basic to me. So the players then spent about an hour in real time planning out their assault on this keep. They know based on numbers that they have at least a moderate disadvantage. However, they have the advantage of being able to pick the time of the attack as well as potentially surprise. And so they know that they have the ability here to sort of have the battle on their terms, but the lizard folk have a whole castle. So we'll see what their plans sort of make it easier or harder or who knows just now. But they do want to make sure that they maximize their advantage of stealth and surprise, and so they spend a lot of time discussing and planning and preparing. They even at one point discuss taking their ship cannons off of the ship and moving them up and using them to breach the walls of the castle or the doors, until they very quickly remember that they want to keep this castle after they take it over, so maybe destroying half of it isn't a great idea. So they very quickly pivot to a different plan. And what they end up coming to eventually is that the party will go into the secret vault entrance and hope that they are able to, all of them get in there, and the lizard folk don't know about this entrance or notice them, that they will get in there and make their way from inside the keep across the courtyard to the castle doors to open and unbar them. And then the orcs who have been waiting in the tree line will be able to move out of the trees, the jungle there, and go towards the now open doors. In the middle of the night, they'll all surprise everyone. That is their plan. 2 of the players, Clement and Tico, have the ability to go invisible via a potion of invisibility and the casting of the spell invisibility. And so they will be the ones who will cross from the keep, the courtyard, and then open the doors. So this is their plan. I think it's a pretty good plan. And I make sure to let them know that. I feel like if the players have a good plan, it would be cool for me to tell them, hey, I think that's a good plan. If there's something that is, again, obviously wrong and bad and dangerous to the players, I usually remind them of this. I tried to do that with Callister, but it doesn't always work. So, anyways, here we are. So the players sneak into position. They manage to get up the cliff face and enter through this secret entrance that they find the location of. They are on some sort of a basement level with what looks to be a vault and an armory, a wine cellar, and all of it looks dilapidated, run down, underused. They make their way up the stairwell and start to peek into the doorway there. They see firelight under the door, so they know that there's probably people in the area, and they very slowly, very quietly open the door and peek out, and they see this is sort of a great hall throne room kind of area, and there are lizard folk sleeping all over the place. In fact, they see a very different looking and bigger and better looking lizard folk asleep in what appears to be a throne. And so they close the door back behind them and re-talk about their plan, and then the two players who can go invisible do so. They cast their invisibilities on themselves, and they sneak out through this big throne room, great hall area, sleeping lizard folk, torchlight flickering everywhere, and make their way across to the double doors. And there was a tremendous amount of stealth checks that happened from here to the end of their stealth mission. But one of the more interesting things that happened is, as Tico was opening the big wooden double doors leading out of the great hall, I asked him, hey, are you opening the left door or the right door? And he kind of looks at me for a second. He's like, the left door? I said, awesome, great. As you open that, you can see just on the other side of the right door is a lizard folk propped up sleeping. And everyone at the table is like surprised and relieved, and oh my goodness, we didn't just wake this guy up by opening the door out from under him. And it was really, really a tense moment there, and everyone was kind of relieved and celebrating. I want to let you in on a secret here, DM to DM. I had no idea that that was going to happen. That was sort of something I made up in the moment. I thought would be interesting and dramatic. And also, I didn't have a door picked. I asked him, what door are you opening? I didn't have in my head ready which door the lizard folk was going to be sleeping on, because I knew I was just going to say the opposite door of the one you picked is the one those lizard folk is sleeping on. Sometimes the illusion of choice is the same as the reality of it. I wanted the players to feel like those little choices were mattering, and it was this tense moment, but I wasn't going to screw them over just because. However, the next doors that Tico had to open, he checked first to see if there was anything blocking the light under the doors, and he sort of checked the weight of the door as he tugged on it to open it. Is there give on this? Is there somebody propped up against it? And there wasn't, but he sort of adjusted his decision-making process and started to learn things. So I feel like you can do that kind of thing sparingly, where you insert something and know they don't really have a choice but want to just use it for dramatic effect. You can use it sparingly. Don't overdo it, because that is definitely a tool that can be overdone, but it can make for a really cool dramatic moment if you want to pull that tool out of your toolbox at any point. So, Tico and Clement make their way out of the Great Hall, they make their way out of the keep proper, and now they are looking at the courtyard. And the courtyard has many campfires scattered around and about 50 lizard folk who are asleep in various states on the courtyard, and there are several guards patrolling the battlements. They are invisible, which is a tremendous aid, and they are able to very carefully and quietly make their way across the courtyard to the castle doors. And it is at this point that they see this big, large, beefy wooden plank barring the doors. I think I described it as like an 8x8 that's 20 feet long. It was huge. They realized that the two players they sent had a combined strength modifier of like -1 or 0 or something. These are not the strong players in the group. So they began attempting to quietly and unsuccessfully unbar the door so that it would be able to be opened and that no guards would hear the sounds. It was at this point that the party that had been trailing, again, they're in telepathic communication the whole time, Tico and Orar and Clement, as well as Travis, but we'll get to him later, have the ability to communicate telepathically through events with an oracle. It's way back. It's really cool. Anyways, so they're communicating the whole time, and the players that had been trailing, that were still in that secret entrance, that vault area, now start to catch up, so they're not too split, which is ironic for what follows next, because these players are not invisible, so they very quickly fail some stealth rolls. And I tell them, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing right now as the lizard folk start to stir and wake up and they're starting to move and they might notice you? What are you doing? Ryu and Orar bolt through those doors outside of the Great Hall throne room area and get on the other side. However, Ukula notices the sleeping lizard folk queen and decides, I gotta buy some time and I gotta go for it. Maybe the lizard will be like a snake that has had its head cut off if I can kill the queen. So he shuts the door behind his teammates and runs back and goes and tries to attack the lizard folk queen. It was pretty intense. So now we are in full panic mode. The worst possible situation is that the party are all trapped inside the keep and castle with 80 to 120 lizard folk and no tribe of orcs to back them up. Even if they have no surprise, they would rather those doors be open. So Clement and Tico heave with all their might, and it is loud, to get the bar off of the door and open it up, just because they know that their party is about to be spotted on the inside that can communicate, and so they've got to get something. They've got to open the doors. They've got to get their allies, and so they finally do heave, and at this moment the players inside the keep are noticed, and the guards on top of the wall hear and are able to see the door opened, and now we have a really interesting state of events. The party is split into 4 separate groupings. Ukula is attacking the lizard folk queen, trying to take her head and buy time for his friends. Ryu and Orar are trying to join up with their allies, as well as create what distraction they can to allow the orcs to buy time to get into the castle proper. Tico and Clement are trying to do something with the bar. They're trying to get rid of it so that the door can't be rebarred. And now I'm also tracking the orcs trying to get into the castle itself. And I'll tell you, this was the first time I've had a party split like this, and man, it was really interesting and not that hard, actually. I was able to kind of keep everything separate and act people on their initiatives, and it was all sort of combat crunch time, so you just do your turn, do your actions, and bonus actions, and movement, and move on to somebody else. And so it wasn't actually all that difficult to have these 4 different groups. I had sort of a countdown die that I was ticking around, trying to count for when the orcs would actually show up, because we calculated how many rounds away they would be. And so this is crunch time, though. It's really important to figure out how are you going to react when, not if, your plans go awry, because they often do. And the players handled it beautifully. Clement and Tico decided that they needed to get rid of this bar so that the lizardfolk couldn't rush in and rebar the door, keeping the orcs out. And so they are heaving and pushing and dragging, trying to get it over to the lake that is inside the castle courtyard, so that they can just push it into the lake and maybe nobody will spot it and kind of get rid of it. Beautiful, great idea. And then Orar upcasts fog cloud to encompass the entire courtyard so no one can see anything. It was nuts. Again, guys, you got to read your upcasting and what it will do for spells, because it can really change the game here. The player, Matt, was really creative with that spell, and he covered the whole courtyard so no one can see anything, and those 2 moves were the player's master strokes. They were brilliant. Well done, you guys. So again, the Okayest laid plans sometimes go awry, but these guys definitely managed to pull it out. It allowed them to buy time for the orcs to get into the courtyard, as well as the fact that after casting the spell, Ryu and Orar went over to the slave pens and managed to open the slave pens up and free the slaves, thus adding to their number of fighters. And so it was very well done. Ukula managed to buy time for his friends. However, he totally got defeated. He got smoked. He was fighting the lizardfolk queen and a bunch of lizardfolk and a lizardfolk shaman. It wasn't a good time for him. However, the lizardfolk decided to knock him unconscious rather than killing him. They wanted to add 1 more to their number of slaves. He did buy a few rounds, though, of combat, just trying to take the queen captive and escape, and it was very well done, him. However, at this point, the orcs are able to flood into the courtyard. Orar drops his fog cloud so everyone can see what they're doing now. The players are able to throw fireballs into the midst of the lizard folk, who are confused and getting slaughtered by the orcs who are pressing in. Starting to look very bad for the lizard folk. One of the last major things to happen is the lizardfolk queen and the shaman come out and try to start aiding in the battle, but it's very quickly looks like it's already lost. And they shout out, "Zarathrax will have her revenge," and teleport out and seem to disappear from view. And so we'll see what happens with that. I don't know, but it looks to be pretty intense. So eventually the battle turns out quite well. A lot of orcs did die, however, all of the lizard folk are dead, and now the players have a stronghold that's been cleared out. They've freed the slaves, and in the slave pens they did find Travis, their ally who they were looking for. They were also looking for Callister. Didn't find him in there, so I don't know what they're going to try to do about that, but he's definitely dead, even if they don't know it. So they did find their ally Travis, though, who, after being freed, went and found his stuff, and with his stuff, he found a mysterious scroll just on the queen's possessions, just hanging out there. He opened and read the scroll, and I handed the player Hunter a note, and I asked him, do you share this information with anyone else? And he said, no. So nobody else knows what that note says, and neither shall I share it with you. We will find out later if it's relevant at all. It is. So the final thing to happen is the players and the orc chieftain Modek enter into a bit of a negotiation for, okay, what do we do with this castle now? Because we kind of conquered it together. And the orcs are not just going to, like, conquer the castle and then just leave. This is a really cool castle. They want to stay here, too. So the agreement that they kind of come to is that Modek is still going to be the chieftain of the orcs, and the orcs will be able to live here in the castle, in the courtyard, and set up their tribe. But the players are the ones who own and manage and run, and who the castle belongs to. That's theirs. And they can kind of do whatever they want. We'll see if that ever comes to a head, you know, a group of normal people living with a tribe of orcs, but for now it seems to be a tenable situation. However, that's where we left things. The players are in control of a stronghold, the lizard folk are defeated, however some manage to escape, and we'll see what happens with that. The orcs are living peacefully in the castle with the players, and it seems to be working out pretty well. It was a really great close to a semester, a good chapter to end on. I think we'll take a couple of weeks or months in-game as some downtime so they can fix up their stronghold and make it livable, and see what else kind of training and things that they do in the meantime. So that can be that'll be pretty interesting. So we'll begin our adventures anew in late January in real time when the players come back to town, and so it'll be very interesting to pick up where we left off after a few weeks of downtime to see what their adventures have in store for them next. And so I just want to thank you guys for watching along this semester. It's been a really great time making these videos and engaging with you guys. There will definitely be more videos next semester, and I'll try to do a couple non-campaign diary videos. I want to talk about one-shots. I think I have some interesting things to say there. They're very different than regular campaigns, so I have a video coming for that, but maybe not until after New Year's. We'll see when I have free time, who knows. But thank you guys so much for all of your comments, for new subscribers. It really means a lot. I know I don't shill very much for like and subscribe or whatever because I think it's kind of fake and everything, but I really do enjoy when you guys comment and interact with me. It means a lot, and I really enjoy making these videos and getting to reach out and build our tiny little community here. I think it's really cool, so thank you guys so much for that. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next year.